Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk to you about yeast and I'm going to show you how to make cinnamon rolls from scratch. So the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is how yeast is going to help your dough rise when you make cinnamon rolls. So this is what yeast looks like when it comes out of the package. I don't know if you guys can see that. There it is. See how it's kind of grainy looking? That's what it's going to look like. And this is active dry yeast. So in order to activate this yeast, which is a biological leavener, we are going to need some liquid, which in this case will be milk, and some sugar or starch. So in this case, the sugar is actually white sugar. So once this becomes activated, you're going to see it kind of look like it's puffing up and you're not going to be able to see the individual grains of yeast anymore. And that is what we call proofing. If that does not happen to your yeast, it's expired, it's not good anymore, and you need to get rid of it and get some new yeast. Okay, so I don't know if I already told you guys this, but yeast is actually a fungus, and it's what we call a biological leavener because it's alive. Okay, Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to proof your yeast. I have all of my ingredients here that I need to make cinnamon roll dough. This is what we call mise en place, which is when you have all of your stuff ready to go. You've read your recipe, you know exactly what you need, and you have everything measured and ready to add to your bowl. Okay, so I have 1 cup of milk, and normally with yeast, you want your liquid to be between 115, 105, 115. That way you can make sure that, number one, it's going to be activated because it activates above 105 degrees. And you want to make sure that you will not kill it, and you will kill it if it gets above 115. So that's my 1 cup of milk. I'm adding half a cup of sugar, and I'm going to give it a nice stir so you guys can see we have our liquid and our sugar, which is going to help activate the yeast. All right, so I'm just going to check my temperature again to make sure that it's right. And it's good. So I'm going to go ahead, just sprinkle my yeast on top. And I'm going to talk to you guys for a minute about the dough. So for cinnamon rolls, this is what we call a rich dough, which means it's going to have, it's going to be higher in fat and sugar than a lean dough. So there's two doughs, a rich dough and there's lean dough. So rich doughs would be for things like cinnamon rolls and also for things like donuts, because you're going to have fat and sugar in those types of things. And brioche, any type of sweet rolls, those are all rich. Lean doughs are going to be things like your regular sandwich bread that you guys eat your sandwiches on, Italian bread, pizza dough, pretzels, the soft pretzels, any of that stuff is going to be a lean dough. So those are typically, they tend to be a little bit drier and crustier than a rich dough when they're done baking. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys that what this is starting to look like. I don't know. Sorry, I'm not good with this yet. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's starting to foam up a little bit. You can still see some of the separate granules of yeast, so it's not quite ready yet. The other things that I'm going to add to this are 1/3 cup of melted butter, 2 eggs, and you might wonder, why are they sitting in a cup of water? Because they are supposed to be room temperature eggs. So I didn't think ahead before I made the video, and I needed room temperature eggs. So a really easy way to do that is just go ahead and put your eggs in a cup or a bowl or something, fill it with hot tap water, obviously in the shell, and then you're going to let it go, and that helps to get to room temperature faster. So my eggs, we need to put salt in it, and it's also going to get between 4 to 4.5 cups of flour. You might say, why do we have a range there for flour? And it's because with any type of dough like this, there's always going to be some kind of leeway. So for example, if there's a lot of moisture in the air, like it's summertime, you will probably have to add more flour than you would in the wintertime when your heater's working and it's drying out the air in your house. Okay. Okay, so I'm also going to talk to you guys about why these different ingredients. So why would we use milk instead of water for this? That's partly for the texture for when it's done baking. It helps to make it a rich dough. It makes it soft. It works better with the sugar and the butter and stuff to make it a rich dough. All right, so butter is going to add moisture and fat, and it's also going to add some flavor into your dough. So that's why we use butter. And you guys might say, well, how do you know if you have a third cup of sugar? There's always going to be markings on your stick of butter. The big ones are tablespoons. Sometimes they have smaller measurements on there that are teaspoons. And this one even has a measurement to show you where a third of a cup is. It's right there. It's 5 tablespoons and 1 teaspoon. Okay, so there's that. Salt is going to do a couple things to your dough. Number one, it's going to counteract the sugar so that's not super sweet. And number two, it's going to help make your gluten stronger in your bread. So you might say, like, well, how do you get gluten? Gluten comes from working with your regular wheat flour, and when it's added to some kind of liquid and you start stirring it, then the bonds start to form and proteins start to link together, and that's where you get gluten. So gluten are protein strands that attach to each other, and they act like rubber bands, right? So they kind of just keep everything together. The more you mix or knead whatever you're making, the stronger your gluten is going to get. And salt's going to help it get strong. Okay, so this is almost ready. And then I'm going to add my butter first. It actually is ready. So I'm going to add my butter to this. There's my 1/3 cup of butter. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. Remember, do not measure over your bowl because you might get extra and you don't want runoff going in there. Okay, so there's my 1 teaspoon of salt. And then I'm going to add my eggs. You need the whole thing. Okay, and I'm going to give it a stir, just kind of break up some of the egg yolks and get that stuff mixed together before I add my flour. If you guys have a stand mixer at home, like a KitchenAid stand mixer, you could do this whole process in there. But I wanted to show you how to do it without one because I know not everybody has a stand mixer at home. And we're going to show you how to do the kneading and everything, which again, if you have a stand mixer, that will do the kneading for you. Okay. So we're just going to give that a quick stir. I'm going to add my bread flour, and you can use regular all-purpose flour for this also. So this is 4 cups. I'm going to start with that. I might need to add more, but we will know once all this flour gets mixed in. Okay, so it's kind of mixed together, and I like to use a spoon at first, just so that a bunch of stuff doesn't stick to my hands. And then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to start mixing in the rest of the flour that's kind of stuck in the bottom and with my hands. And this is going to start the process of kneading the dough. So I will show you guys. You can see kneading looks like you grab your dough from underneath, fold it on top of itself, and push down with your hand. And I'm going to show you how to do this better when I get it out of the bowl. I just like to try to get all of that flour mixed in with it first. All right, so this dough, how will you know you have enough flour? Well, this dough is going to be a little tacky, like a little sticky, but it shouldn't stick to your hands. And I think I'm probably going to end up needing more flour because the more that you knead it, the more the flour gets mixed in and the stickier it gets. But you don't want to add too much because you can always add flour, but you can't take it away. Okay, so far this is what it looks like. You guys can see that it's not a smooth ball yet. I'm definitely not done kneading it. And I'm gonna have to add a little bit more flour. Okay, so this is what it's gonna look like. Some people like to use 2 hands and fold it and push with the heels of your hands. I like to use one because then it kind of keeps this hand a little bit cleaner. And if you're doing this by hand, you should knead for about 8 minutes. That's when your gluten is going to be the strongest and it's going to be the best. If you have a stand mixer, all of this you're going to do with your dough hook, and you're just going to turn it on low, and it'll take about 5 minutes in the stand mixer because it's a machine and it doesn't have to stop. Okay, so I kneaded it for about 8 minutes, and you guys can see it's pretty smooth and it's not sticking to my fingers at all. So I sprayed a bowl with some cooking spray. If you don't have cooking spray, you can use oil, just a little bit in there, and that's going to help the dough to keep it from sticking to the sides of the bowl while it rises. So I'm going to put it in there, cover it with some plastic wrap, and I'm going to let it go for about an hour. But usually you want to wait until it's doubled in size. So it might be less than an hour, might be more than an hour. Depends on the temperature of your house and what's going on outside. So we'll cover it up and we'll be back.